Hello everyone, welcome back to the second video of the SAML tutorial. And in this video, we're going to look at the SAML in action and see how the SAML SSO workflow look like. And if you missed the first video, which talks about the theory to understand how SAML works, the description has the link to the first video. Okay, let's get started. For this demo, I'll be using SAMLbox, saml-box.com as a target SP or IDP, and then use ForgeRock in local as another testing SP and IDP, so that we have two parties to come into play. So SAMLbox is a online identity provider that I developed. It's deployed for public usage, so anybody want to do SAML integration or development or testing can start to play with this platform. So there'll be some getting started guide here on how to use it. There'll be some overview on how this platform was developed. Then there are some question and answers about this platform. And to start to use it, you can simply start to upload your IDP metadata or your SP metadata. So remember, we talked about the metadata exchange, so that the IDP and SP can start to do the handshake before the real SSO. Okay, so we're talking about two parties, IDP and SP, right? So if SAMLbox is acting as an SP, so I need to upload my IDP metadata, right? So this is uploading your IDP metadata. So your app is acting as an IDP, and the SAMLbox is acting as an SP, right? It's the same goes SP side. When your app is acting as an SP, SAMLbox is acting as IDP, you need to upload your SP metadata here, right? So let's just do that. First, we're gonna start with this part, which is just I have an application which is acting as an IDP, and the SAMLbox is acting as an SP. And here I'm using ForgeRock as a test application to do the SAML integration. So before we start the SSO workflow, we need to do the metadata exchange, right? Let's download the SAMLbox SP metadata here. So this is downloaded. We can take a look at this file. Okay, so this is the SAMLbox SP metadata file. We can look at this descriptor. It says SP SSO descriptor, so that we know this is SP metadata, right? And then the entity ID is SAML-box, and then there'll be some certificate information. This is for signing, and this is for encryption. So those two certificates actually are the same. It's a self-signed certificate for testing usage. And then we have some other information like the name ID format, the assertion consumer service, and then the single logout service, right? So you can check those terms up in the blog that I wrote. So if you go to bostonidentities.com and then go to blog and go to this part, SAML 2.0 explaining simple words part 1. So there'll be 3 parts in it. Basically, I explain a lot of details here about SAML and how it works, things like that. So I'm not going to go through those details here. And once we have that downloaded, right, and I need to upload it to the IDP. So for IDP, we just need to go to the one that I deploy locally, which is ForgeRock here. So I'm gonna import the SP metadata. So I'm gonna add a remote entity, and by selecting the download SP metadata and create that. Okay, and this ForgeRock our platform has been enabled for SAML integration as both IDP and SP, which is this one. So there's this OpenAM identity provider, or IDP, so which can act as both IDP and SP. So this is the one function that's enabled in this ForgeRock platform, right? And the locations as hosted, that means is for yourself. So once we have those two entities added in ForgeRock side, I need to create a circle of trust so that they can trust each other, meaning the same circle of trust. So I'm gonna add those two entities here. Okay, so this circle of trust concept is fulfilled here in ForgeRock. Sometimes in other IAM platforms, you don't have to do specifically add that, meaning that whenever you import the metadata, it will be automatically trusted, right? But here, ForgeRock provides some more flexibilities for you to specify which ones should be in one circle of trust and which ones might be in another circle of trust. Okay, so once this is done, we are good on the SP side. I mean the IDP side. Now we need to export the IDP metadata and import it to the SAML box, right? So let's do that. So I'm gonna get the export URL from ForgeRock, then paste that in here. So as you can see here, I'm basically exporting the entity ID of OpenAM-IDP, which is this one. That is the IDP metadata. But since it has both IDP row and SP row, you will see in this metadata, both as descriptor will be listed. I mean, both parties. One is the IDP SSO descriptor and one is the SP SSO descriptor. Okay. So let me download this file. I'll just say OpenAM-IDP metadata. Okay. Save that. And then import this to the SAML box, just the file that we just downloaded. Okay, this file is selected and then upload. Okay, once it's validated, it will show the details of this SAML metadata file. When I click on the next button, so this will come to a landing page of this SAML box. So we can see the IDP entity ID, and then we can copy this URL for later usage. Copy that, get rid of this one. Okay, and before we do the SAML workflow, we can do some configurations of the authentication request, meaning that how the request should be sent from SAML box to this target IDP. Okay, click on that. You can see there are different informations listed here. You can select the binding method using either HTTP post or HTTP redirect, and then what's the SSO URL from the IDP, and then what's the target name ID, and what's the do you want the request to be signed or not, you know, things like that. Okay, let's start to do the SAML SSO workflow. I'm gonna start the network so that we can see what's going on with the transactions. First, paste that URL, just copy it so that we come to this page, and then we're gonna start to do the SP initial login by clicking this button. So this is the URL to start the this is the endpoint to start the SP initial login with the specific target IDP. Okay, so I'm clicking on that. So you can see this is a redirect to the IDP for login, and then since I don't have any session, I'm using the incognito. I need to log into a user. Okay, so I'm trying to log in with a test user. Once I log in here, it will send back a SAML response to SAML box, and you can see this SSO is successful. And more specifically, if we take a look at the transaction here, the keyword for the request here, let's see this one. So this is a request that's sent to ForgeRock, right? And if we check the payload here, we see there is a form post data here which says SAML request. So let's copy this value and go to a SAML decoder. So we just go to saml2.io and paste in that string we just copied. And as you can see here, this is the decoded SAML request content. And this says this is an authentication request for SAML2, and the assertion consumer service URL is this one, meaning that what's the SAML response should be sent to. That is this URL, which is SAML box URL. And then what's the destination? So this is the target destination for ForgeRock. And then the issuer is SAML box, meaning the issuer of this SAML request. And what's the name ID policy here? It's unspecified. So this is the content of the request. And after that, we did some login here by using this test user. And when this authentication is finished, the IDP, the ForgeRock, will generate a SAML response here and send it back to SAML box, right? So it's this one. It says 02 post, and there's some payload here. Let's copy that value here and paste in here again. So this is decoded SAML response. So you can see here this is a SAML response, and then the issuer is OpenAM-IDP. So that's the YAP we just created in ForgeRock, right? And then the destination in response to, and what is the status for this? It's a success, right? And then the issuer, a bunch of other information like this digital signature we mentioned about to maintain the integrity of the data. And then the returned name ID format is unspecified. So we just use the user ID here as name ID. There's some other information as well. So basically, this is the a SAML flow in action. We can see here in the request, we have triggered the SP initiated SAML request, which goes to IDP, and IDP doesn't have a user session. The user will need to log in. And after that, the IDP will generate a SAML response and send it back, okay? And then there will be some information that's displayed here as well. So let's do some change here. Say I want to check the SAML request where I want to sign the SAML request, because just now we saw it's not signed, doesn't have the signature, right? So if you want to enhance the security, we can make the change to sign the request as well. And let's do it again this time. Okay, so this time successful. So if you check the SAML request, and you see besides some other information like previous SAML request, we have added a signature here in the request, okay? And then the IDP side, we will need to validate the signature to make sure this request is not tempered. So this is another layer, another added layer of security, right? The request is not tempered to make sure. And after that, the response will be sent like before. This is the SAML response. Okay, then let's check the value here. So it's the same as before. We have the user here, okay? And another thing is, I mentioned in the SSO workflow, since the IDP already has a session, user session, the second time when I was trying to log in, it doesn't ask for any credentials, right? So if I try to log in again here, it won't ask for any credentials because IDP already has a session, and then he just need to reuse that session and send back the SAML response, and then the SSO is done, right? So here we can take a look at the session information since already finished one SSO flow for SP. So this is from the SP side, we're looking at the session of the user. So this is basically the entity ID, and then the session create time, and etc. And also we can start to send out a SP initiated single logout request here. Let's see how that goes. If I try to log out here, so this one will send out a logout request. So this one is showing as logout request instead of authentication request, and it will provide some other information like what's the name ID, and then what's the target session. So the IDP side will track the session as well, so that he knows which session to log out. Okay, and then the response from IDP is logout response. It's not the authentication response. It's logout response. There's some signature values as well, and then the status code is success. That means that session has been logged out successfully. So since I have logged out to the SP and the IDP, I have to read the authentication again if I start the SAML workflow. And let's see that. So I'm gonna copy back this URL again. And if I check the session information here, so there's no session because I have done the logout from both SP side and IDP side. So if I do a SP initial login again, it will ask for the credentials because it's logged out from the IDP side as well. Okay, so this is basically the SP initiated SSO and SP initiate the logout. And then next, we're gonna take a look at when IDP does the SSO flow directly. That is to say, the IDP initiated SSO. How does it look like? Okay, so let's close this just to be clean. And then I'm gonna paste in the IDP initial URL. That's ForgeRock initiated SSO URL, right? So I'm gonna paste in that URL. So this is the ForgeRock local deployment, IDP initiated SSO, and what is the target SP entity ID, which is SAML. Okay, so if I start that, and then it will try to trigger the SSO, IDP initiated SSO. So there's no SP involved in this case, and we directly come to this IDP page, and it's trying to authenticate a user. And then if I try to log in here, okay, so this this SSO work as well. As you can see, there's a SSO SAML response, but there's no request coming from SAML box to ForgeRock. It's directly triggered that flow by using this URL, right? So there's no request coming. This is IDP initiated SSO. Okay. So the next step is we swap the roles of two parties, meaning that SAML will be playing as IDP and ForgeRock will be playing as SP. And let's see how that goes. And the first step for this is to exchange the metadata, right? So in this SAML the IDP and SP are separate. So you have to import the metadata from ForgeRock again. And since we know that ForgeRock has both IDP and SP in one place, we just need to upload the metadata to the SAML IDP side, right? So previously we uploaded to this one, so we just need to upload to this one. And in this case, ForgeRock is acting as SP, and SAML is acting as IDP. Let's upload the metadata file from ForgeRock as an SP. Okay, so it's validated. Then we can come to the next step. So this is the landing page when you upload an SP metadata. Okay, so copy this URL again. You need to use it later on. And then you need to update the settings that how the IDP should generate the response for this SP specifically. Okay, so here are the information you can update. And then we have some test users list out here that you can use for testing. And since SAML box is acting as an IDP, we can do the IDP initiated login flow as well. But on the other hand, if you want to do the SP initiated login flow, so we have to start from the ForgeRock, which is using that URL that we composed. And before that, we need to export the metadata from SAML box for IDP when SAML box acting as an IDP, and then import that into ForgeRock, right? Because just now when we actually try to import in ForgeRock, we just import the SAML box SP metadata. We need to import the IDP metadata as well. Go to home of this SAML box and download the SAML box IDP metadata. So this is the IDP metadata. We just save it, and then just say SAML box IDP metadata. Save that. Then we need to import that into ForgeRock. So this is a remote role, and I'll add this automatically to the circle of trust we just created. Okay, so this is good. So I'm gonna copy paste in the URL to start the SP initial flow. So this time it's starting from ForgeRock. ForgeRock's playing as SP and SAML box is acting as the IDP. Right, so this is the ForgeRock SP initiated SSO trigger endpoint, and then the IDP entity ID is this one. So this one is a little bit different from the entity ID when SAML box is acting as SP. Okay, just be aware of that. And one thing we can do is, instead of the transactions from the networks, right, instead of this, we can use a different tracking tool, which is called SAML Tracer. So you have to add it from the Chrome store. So if you go to Chrome store and search for SAML Tracer, assuming you're using Chrome, you can use other tools as well. I mean, you use other browsers if they have the extensions just out there, but Chrome has this web store where you can specify the SAML Tracer. So this one is already installed, right? So if you go to the settings and try to make some change on the tools, the extensions, manage extensions, specifically go to that SAML Tracer, this one, details, and you want to allow incognito to enable that, so that when you go to incognito, you can enable the SAML Tracer. Okay, so this SAML Tracer basically automatically identified the SAML transactions and then pass it for you, right? So if I start that SP initiated SSO, the workflow, it will automatically goes to IDP, right? And then in this SAML Tracer, you can see it's recognized as a SAML. There's a highlight here saying this is a SAML transaction, right? So we know this is a request, and we can check the SAML content, the decoded content. So this is a authenticated request from ForgeRock, right? So the issuer should be OpenAM IDP, right? So it's acting as an SP. This name is a little bit tricky, but basically it's an SP. And then it's authentication request SP initiated SSO. And after that, we can log in here. So there's a test user we can use, which is the signing. Okay, so this goes back to ForgeRock, and then it says single sign-on succeeded. Okay, so if you check the SAML Tracer, there will be a SAML response generated, So this is the SAML response that goes back to the IDP. Sorry, I mean the SP, which is ForgeRock, and then issuer should be IDP. So this is SAML box IDP issuer, and there is some values attached to it as well, which is the name and ID format, as well as some other values like the username, email, last name, things like that. Okay. So just a side note, you need to have some configurations or troubleshootings a lot of times in order to get this work. And I did some changes when I was adding the metadata to ForgeRock to make sure it's good. And then the next thing we can try is probably IDP initiate workflow. So let's close this one, leave the SAML trace on, and come back to this page, copy the URL, open the incognito again, and then paste that in. So we're gonna start with the IDP initiate flow here. So this is starting from the SAML box when it's acting as an IDP. Okay, asking for login. Okay, single sign-on succeeded. So in this case, the SAML tracer only shows one transaction, which is the response generated by IDP and sent to ForgeRock, sent to SP. So there's no request in this case. Okay. Now another thing could be useful from SAML box perspective is check the logs. So sometimes when you're trying to do the integration, you see some error, right? And then you want to check the logs from the SAML box side. So you can view the keycloak logs, server logs. So this keycloak server log is basically when SAML box is acting as an IDP. Okay, you can specify the number of lines that's returned. Then refresh the log, you get the log, and then try to correlate the timestamp. So just be aware that this is a shared platform, right? So every user, when other users are using this platform, the logs will be logged here as well. And the same goes for the SP side for SAML box, right? So I'm using a Spring Boot, Spring Security SAML when SAML box is acting in SP, so you can check the Spring Boot server logs as well. Okay, so it's shown up here. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.